Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. MC-Mura here, and in today's video I wanted to talk about Juri and how you can use her in Street Fighter V. So let us get started. So what type of character is Juri? In my opinion, Juri is a jack of all trades but a master of none. If I have to give her a definitive playstyle, I will say it is mostly gonna be mid to far range zoning. Maybe from around here, her zoning is actually pretty powerful. The light kick release, this projectile is very good. It is slow moving, and because of its hitbox and being low to the ground like that, it doesn't actually clash with other projectiles. And what makes it really work is the fact that because of its slow and because of Juri's mobility, you are allowed to use it as a shield, right? So you can use it like that to cover your approach. The fireball also have a really fast recovery. It is one of the fastest fireballs recovery wise in the game. The startup is a little bit long, but the recovery is pretty good. And what really complements this playstyle is the fact that Juri actually have an anti-air uppercut. And let's say for example here that we will set Ryu to jump. This is a true uppercut anti-air like the Shotos have, right? So if you combine both of these together, you have a fireball that's actually fast on recovery and an uppercut that is also pretty invincible on startup. This will allow you to play that game where you can simply like throw fireballs and anti-air with an uppercut if they try to jump, right? And it's not only that, she also has the heavy punch. This is a pretty good anti-air. In my opinion, crouching heavy punch is also pretty alright. Can crush counter on some instances like that, and you get a crush counter combo. She have an air throw, so the anti-air options are pretty good. So we have a controlled fireball that we can use to start our pressure, and we have pretty good anti-airs. To complement this, she also have pretty good mobility. The walk speed is actually pretty nice. Like I said earlier, the dash speed is pretty good as well. What makes me think that this is the required playstyle as well is the fact that Juri does have some anti-zoning tools. Anti-zoning tools mean tools that go through fireballs. So for example, here if we set Ryu to throw Hadoukens, the regular flip kicks, if you time it right, this will go over fireballs, right? The EX is fireball invincible from frame 1. It is slower, right? So if you do too late like that, you can get blocked, but it is -2 on block, so you are safe anyways. If you happen to land it, you actually get a uppercut after it, so you get some decent damage output, and obviously you can V-trigger activate out of this as well, so that is pretty nice. If you happen to store her V-skill 1 and your opponent happen to throw a fireball, you can simply move through it and actually punish them. So she does have some anti-fireball tools. All of this kinda encourage you to play this zoning game, right? Now, what are the issues with this character? The main issue with Juri is the fact that she does have to play a store game. I said that you can use this fireball as a shield to cover your approach, right? But the issue is that once you're up here, what are you gonna do, right? She is a character who doesn't really have a lot of plus frames attack to keep up with the pressure. So what mostly gonna happen is that you will use it like this, then have to store and go back, and then play this dash up, dash backward, dash up, dash backwards game. A lot of players call this hit and run. I don't believe it to be a hit and run playstyle because the hit option is pretty weak. You are just playing a control option that you have to commit to from a far range, and obviously if you store from this distance, your opponent can easily punish you or whiff punish you, so that is a little bit problematic. Now, Juri also does have some really good damage output in my opinion, but it's conditional damage output. So let's say for example that you don't have stores, right? What you're gonna get is something like this, which is 160 for a medium confirm. That is below average. That's actually pretty below average in my opinion. However, if you have the stores, but let's say you have the store releases, right? You're gonna be doing 234, which is a lot better. Now, if you have V-skill, if you also have V-skill charged, and let's say you're talking about V-skill 2, right, you are getting even more. Now we are getting 255. Let's do another more optimal combo. right? You can get even something like this, and now we're talking to 191. So her damage output under certain conditions can be really high. However, without the stores, the damage is pretty low in my opinion. This is the story of Juri. She's a character who have to rely on her stores. When you have the stores ready, Juri is a very good character. When you don't have the stores ready, Juri is a little bit lackluster in my opinion. She does have an invincible reversal, so that is pretty good on defense. She does have some good normals in my opinion. The crouching medium punch is pretty good. Standing medium kick is a fantastic normals. But again, if you don't have the stores, the effectiveness of everything goes down. Now, fortunately, she does have some ways to combo into her stores and keep it going. So for example, you can do a combo like that, right? This does 71 from a light confirm, so that's not too bad. And if you want, you can certainly just go for the EX Fuha to follow up with the combo. You can do the target combo like that, get the store and follow up with an uppercut. So she does have some option to store while actually getting more damage, and the store itself is actually safe on block if you happen to do it on block string, but obviously because it's -2, it ends your pressure. You can kinda try to cheese something like this with a standing medium kick after it, because if your opponent doesn't time it right or from certain ranges, this actually can be tricky, but for the most part your turn pretty much ends. Overall, she's a character who has some really good elements, but she's a little bit too reliant on the stores, and that ultimately limits her potential in my opinion. So as we always do, we will start talking about the character normals attack, and the first one I'm gonna start off with is the standing light punch. This is Juri's 3-frame light, and obviously like we said previously, 3-frame is the fastest a normal can be in Street Fighter V. And her 3-frame is actually one of the better ones in the game in my opinion. The range on it for 3-frame is actually pretty good, as you can see, and notice that it is +4 on hit. +4 on hit means that it combos into all of her other light attacks, and because of this she gets a combo conversion like that one, double standing light punches into standing light kick. Maybe then you can do a light punch pinwheel, and that is a pretty good, pretty easy and reliable 3 hits light confirm. You can even combo 2 of them into a heavy punch uppercut, doing 153 damage. That's also pretty nice. Now this normal is also pretty good on block, and if your opponent happen to block, notice that it is +2. So it is +2, this means that it will actually frame trap if your opponent try to mash, right? And you can take throw after it, so it does leave Juri in throw range even if the opponent didn't mash throw. So here Ryu is not gonna mash anything, you can still throw them after it, so that is pretty good. And even if Ryu try to mash his jab, notice he is still getting thrown, so that is pretty good. Juri also have a 5-frame medium, this is +2, so this means that after it a standing medium punch will actually frame trap and you get to counter hit combo after, so that is pretty good. Also, this attack is actually pretty good on an interruption, and that's why I'm saying it is one of the better 3 frames in my opinion. Notice that it is +6, right? So this means many things. If you are super close, this means that you get a standing medium punch. So you can get like a standing medium punch target combo, which means that you can store and follow up with a combo. So you can get something like this, 222 damage, and you get a store, so that is pretty nice. If you're from a little bit of a distance, you can combo into the standing medium kick, right? Notice this is a 3 hit. The first hit of standing medium kick is cancelable. So you even from a little bit of a distance like here, you can get something like this. Yes, we are doing 136. So it's not as much damage, but this is actually an okay knockdown. If you're from a little bit of range, even maximum range, you can get the crouching medium kick to connect, right? So even maximum range standing light punch, this is still 2 hits. So obviously you can go into the light punch pinwheel, maybe super if you have it, or at least the AX Fuha. So regardless of the range, you are getting something. I do think for a 3-frame light of this range, getting this counter hit conversion is actually pretty powerful. So it's a pretty good attack all around in my opinion. The next one we will talk about is the crouching light punch. Crouching light punch in many ways is similar to the standing light punch, but it's a little bit better in its exchange of being a little bit slower. So the thing about the crouching light punch is that it is 4 frames and it is +2 on block, as you can see, but it is also +4 on hit, just like the standing light punch. So you get the similar counter hit conversion. If you happen to get the same counter hit conversion, you're pretty much getting the same deals, right? Getting the same things. But the issue or the thing about the crouching light punch is the fact that it does have a tiny bit more range. So if I'm standing right here, my standing light punch might whiff, right? Notice this, from the same range as this whiffs, this connects. So the crouching light punch is a little bit longer, so that is pretty nice. Also, another thing about it, it have less pushback. So for example, if I'm doing a string like that one, I'm gonna do light punch, medium punch into medium kick, and I'm getting the second hit of the medium kick only, right? If I'm doing it with the crouching light punch, I'm getting both hits. So the crouching light punch have more range and it leaves you closer to your opponent. This makes it the preferred attack in combo routes, right? So for example, if we are from a little bit of a distance like this, notice this might whiff, right? While this will connect. So if you are like not point blank and you want to get a more, a more guaranteed or a more safer option for combos, the crouching light punch is certainly the way to go. It pretty much covers most of the functionality of the standing light punch while having a little bit more range. Obviously this comes at the cost of being 1 frame slower, but again, for pressure purposes, I do think it is the better normal in my opinion. They are both pretty similar, but I will use the standing light punch more for interruption and crouching light punch more for pressure. Now the next normals are gonna be the crouching light kick, and as a matter of fact, this is also a 3 frame attack. Juri is one of the very few characters in Street Fighter V. I do believe it's only her and Nikali who have 2 3 frame attacks. The crouching light kick is a 3 frame attack. It is pretty good. Having just a 3 frame attack that is a low is fantastic. As a matter of fact, it is one of the highlights of Chun-Li as a character, right? Because a low crouching light kick or a low 3 frame, it means that you can use it as a 3 frame, but you can also use it to shake if your opponent is trying to shimmy you on pressure. So it serves a double purpose. Obviously, it does have some good combo potential on hit. You can combo into, as you can see, it is +2, but it chains into her light punches, right? So this means that you can combo it into the standing one, into an uppercut, into the crouching one, and then into an uppercut if you want, or maybe like a light punch pinwheel, or a store. There are multiple options that you can go here. I will be leaving a combo section at the end, right? And it is an option that you can use to take throw after, right? Obviously it's the same for the crouching light punch. Like I said, these two cover the same purposes, but the crouching light kick is also an option for tick throws. Notice that it is 0 on block though, and because it's 0 on block, this means that if you try to throw after and your opponent mashes the 3 frame, their 3 frame will hit you out of the throw. So that is a little bit of thing you have to know about. And finally, we're gonna talk about the standing light kick. This normal is like many other standing light kicks in the game. This is pretty good for shaking attacks like Ryu's crouching medium kick in general, and for shaking forward movement. So let's say that Ryu is gonna do something like a solar plexus, right? You can use this to actually shake the forward movement before it happens, right? Like you buffer it into the light punch pinwheel like that, and notice the hitbox on it is actually very good. Like it's likely to catch your opponent moving forward even from far range like that, and then maybe you can get a confirm, maybe like buffer into the EX Fuha if you want, but typically I would say buffer into the light punch pinwheel. This seems like the best buffer. It's also a pretty okay whiff punish because it's fast, right? So let's see him whiff. The range on it is a little bit deceptive. I would say it hits longer than you would expect. So it is a pretty good attack. I will mostly use it to shake dashes and shake the opponent walking forward. Generally a pretty good buffer. Certainly it's an attack that you can also use in combos because it is her longest range light. So again, we will be doing a lot of combos like 2 jabs or 2 light punches into the light kick and then into the special move. This attack does not tick throw. so you can't use it and then throw your opponent. But this also makes it good for shimmies, right? Like let's here have Ryu try to I don't believe there is an option for shimmy, so let's have Ryu try to break. So because it doesn't leave her in throw range, you can actually use it to shimmy your opponent with, and that is an ideal usage. You can even use it without walking, right? Like it's one of the attacks that you can shimmy with without having to walk backwards. So that is pretty interesting, right? It's a niche use, but it's a good one in my opinion. So let us now check out the medium normals on Juri. The first one is gonna be the standing medium punch, and this is a very traditional Street Fighter V standing medium. It is 5 frames, so it is pretty fast, that is good. It's gonna be one of your main combo tools and one of your main pressure tools. Pretty much it works exactly like you would expect it to, right? Now it is +5 and it is 5 frames, so theoretically this should work. However, because of the insane pushback on the standing medium punch, both on hit and on block, and the fact that it does have very little range like that, notice how short it is, this actually doesn't work. This is one of the main reasons that I find the standing medium punch to be a very disappointing tool. The range is abysmal in my opinion, right? Like standing light kick have more range, and I do think even the crouching light punch actually have more range, right? So that's weird. Like you wouldn't expect a standing medium to have less range than a crouching light punch. But anyways, it is actually pretty good on hit because it's +5, so you get to combo a standing medium kick after it if you're up close. The first hit of the standing medium kick is 5 frames. This means that you get this combo, which is pretty nice. If you have the medium kick stored, or the medium kick fuha stored, you can get some good conversions out of it, so that is pretty good. And the medium punch actually have a target combo attached to it, which you do the standing medium and then forward or back and heavy punch, right? And this target combo is actually very useful. It can lead to a lot of hits, and at bare minimum you get to store and follow up with an uppercut, getting good damage and store as well. So if you are like trying to hit confirm, I would say on pressure, it is most likely that you're gonna go for this route. However, if you're going for like a jumping combo, I will simply go for the target combo, because this is gonna lead to a much better reward and a better damage if you want to get the damage output. And obviously the target combo itself is minus safe actually. It's unsafe, I mean, it's -12. So you have to be careful. You only go to this target combo on a hit confirm. So maybe for example, if you happen to hit confirm this, then yeah, go, by all means go to the target combo. Otherwise, I would say stick to the standing medium punch into standing medium kick. Now if you happen to land it as a counter hit, now there are a couple of things here that you have to consider. This is +7 on a counter hit, right? And this means that you actually get a crouching medium punch, you get a crouching medium kick, and even from a little bit of far range like that, you can actually get a fuha, an EX fuha to connect, right? So that is pretty nice. So for example, let's say that you are doing a block string, your opponent is gonna mash, you can go 2 of them, and from this range, almost nothing will connect, right? Crouching medium kick will not reach, crouching medium punch certainly will not reach, but you can actually get the EX fuha to connect, so that is something that you have to consider, right? At least from like maximum range counter hit, you still have some sort of an option here that you can use, so that's not too bad. But obviously that is a little bit costly for a counter hit confirm, right? And like I said earlier, the pushback on block is too massive, right? Like typically this doesn't reach, you can't even do 2 of them in a row. Juri doesn't have other really good attacks that are really fast and can cover this. So pretty much after 2, if the standing medium is the second hit in the block string, your turn pretty much ends, right? They have nothing here that can reach, that have plus frames. This is a little bit slower, so if they are mashing, they are gonna beat you. So that is a little bit disappointing. So mostly what you're gonna be doing is canceling it into a store. If they are not really getting hit, you cancel into the store, and at least you got your store out safely, right? So it is a little bit disappointing, unfortunately, as far as pressure normals go, in my opinion. The next one is gonna be the crouching medium punch, and crouching medium punch, I will say this normal is pretty good as a wave punish tool, and I will say it's also very good at catching forward movement. Let's say that Ryu is gonna do the solar plexus again. This is a jump. Check this out, the hitbox on it is very good at catching people trying to walk forward or trying to dash or whatever. This is very good at that. It's very easy to buffer it into the flip kick, and then obviously if you have super you can get something like this for big rewards. I'll say this is the main use of the crouching medium punch. It's one of her main footsies too. We said that we're gonna be playing like a Ronin control style, and having a good option to anticipate forward movement is actually really good and really important to have. So it is one of her better neutral tools in my opinion. The next one is gonna be the standing medium kick, and this normal is absolutely Juri's best normal in my opinion. It's very good. It's a very good poke. So it serves so many purposes. First of all, it's a very good poke, right? It's decently fast. The range on it is pretty good, especially given her walk speed, and the hitbox on it is actually very good. It's a very obnoxious and very spammable attack if you're just talking about it as a poke. Now, what makes the standing medium kick so special is that it hits twice, right? Notice that it is doing a double, it's a double hit spark. And the first hit is actually special cancelable, and this is very, very big. Because the first hit is special cancelable, you can cancel it into the flip kick if you want. If you have a medium kick release, you can cancel it into it. It allows Juri to combo into her higher tier combo routes, in my opinion, so that is pretty good. And it's actually a fantastic buffer as well. So again, if Ryu is doing his thing, just the poke itself is actually pretty good, but from a little bit of a distance you can actually get the first hit to come out. Because it's 5 frames, it's really fast, and it can come out and actually interrupt him while he's walking forward. So it doesn't check forward movement from as far of a range as say the crouching medium punch does. But if you happen to be a little bit up closer, it's actually fantastic for checking forward movement. Like, it's one of her best buffers from the closer range in my opinion. And like I said, it's gonna be an attack that you would use a lot in combos, and in the neutral it's even just a good poke, even if you're just using the second part. It's absolutely one of Juri's best tools in my opinion. The next one is gonna be the crouching medium kick, and her crouching medium kick is actually, the attack itself is pretty fine. The issue with it in my opinion is the fact that you don't get good conversions out of it. Like the fact that you can't combo it into the flip kick or into the Hazanshu. This hurt it a little bit because you are forced to go to the light punch pinwheel for the most part, which is an okay conversion if you have the heavy kick store. This is not a bad conversion, especially if you have V-skill 2 charged as well. Right, so that's not a bad conversion out of the crouching medium kick. The range on it is actually pretty decent. It is a 15 frame cancel window, so it is harder to hit confirm, but the range on it is pretty good, and just even having a cancelable crouching medium kick is pretty nice. Now, you will mostly gonna use this in conjunction with the light store, because it's one of her longer range cancelable normal along with the back heavy kick. So it's pretty good to use to cancel out of into the fireball, because as you can see from the right distance you can dash up and be +3. So you'll be doing this a lot with Juri, right? Just maximum range crouching medium kick, fireball, dash up, you're at plus frames, and then you get to pressure or harass your opponents. It is a pretty good tool overall, I would say, but I wish they allowed this to combo. This would at least, I think, would have made it a little bit better if you don't have the heavy kick store. If you have the heavy kick store, I would say that is pretty good, but otherwise, just being forced to do this, that isn't really that rewarding in my opinion. The next one is gonna be the overhead, and this is a very generic, very standard overhead. It's not airborne at all. You can get thrown, you can get hit out of it. It's pretty much a round ender. You don't get much out of the overhead. As you can see, it's your even neutral Like you're even neutral on hit, you are 0, so you don't even have the advantage. If your opponent meshes his 3 frame, you will trade here. Obviously, it's like any other overhead, it's -7 on block, so it is pretty unsafe. And I do think that the animation is a little bit telegraphed in my opinion, because Juri does this fancy flip kick and none of her other normals had anything like it. So it is a little bit telegraphed. But again, having an overhead option is pretty good, especially when you have it low as well. And both of them cover roughly the same range, so it is an okay round ender in my opinion. So let's now talk about the heavy normals, and the first one I will start with is the standing heavy punch. This attack for Juri have many uses. The first one is gonna be as an anti-air. It is actually a pretty decent anti-air from my experience, and because it is special cancelable, you can anti-air someone, charge up your store, and notice Juri was still +1 on this situation, right? So even if you anti-air them and get the charge, you are still in a situation where you can get to follow up with your pressure, so that is pretty good. Now this attack can also be used in shimmy situations. We said that Juri doesn't have the longest range on her standing medium punch, so when you're trying to shimmy your opponent, like let's say for example that Ryu is gonna block and then try to throw, right? It can be hard to shimmy with standing medium punch like that, and standing medium kick only the first hit is special cancelable, so maybe you will resort to crouching medium punch, which is not bad, but it is again a little bit harder to hit confirm. Now the standing heavy punch have a lot more hit stun, so it's a lot easier to actually hit confirm in shimmy situations and get as much damage out of it. So you're gonna be doing this mostly for shimmies. I would say it does have a lot of recovery, so it's like for example, if the opponent is not going for a throw and is like going for a jump like that, you got jumped in on, right? So you have to be careful out of that. It is your higher risk, higher reward shimmy option. Now the final use for this is gonna be in the neutral, and this is mostly gonna be as a whiff punish, or pretty much a buffer to out prioritize your opponent. It does have a good hitbox, so for example if say Ryu is gonna do the solar plexus, right, and whiff it, you can use it to get some sort of whiff punishes here, but this is pretty difficult in my opinion. I'm mostly gonna be whiff punishing with stuff like that, or just stuffing it before it happens, right? So using it to stuff things before it happens. Think of it as a little bit of a weaker version of Poison standing heavy punch, but I would say Poison standing heavy punch is a better whiff punch as well. This is more for stuffing stuff before stuffing stuff. This is more for stuffing things before they come out, right? So it is a pretty good normal overall, I think. And the next one is gonna be the crouching heavy punch. This is kind of the same deal when it comes to anti-airs. Again, you can anti-air, have a store. If they are too low to the ground like that, you can be unsafe actually, or at least -1 I believe. So that's not the best. If it happened to anti-air in some instances, you might get a crush counter, right? So it is the same idea as a standing heavy punch in terms of anti-airing and then getting a store. But again, like you noticed once before, you can get a crush counter. And if you happen to get the store, and you got the crush counter, you can even go for an uppercut. It's gonna be a little bit hard to time this, but here you can store and then go for the uppercut. Notice this was really good damage. Or you can go for the store and then the release and then a follow-up combo. So you can get something like this, which is like 250 damage out of an anti-air. That is not bad, right? Unfortunately, I do think this attack is a little bit, I think the hitbox could be improved a little bit, but it is functional, right? For characters that have a DP already, to have a crouching heavy that does this, it's not bad in my opinion, it's okay. And being able to get the crush counter, so you get the V-bar, get store, and also do an uppercut, I do think that's actually pretty nice. The next attacks are gonna be the standing heavy kick. This is pretty much a generic hop kick. Like think of it as like Guile Sobat and stuff like that. It hops over low attacks, and it is -4 on block. It is on the slower end. I believe this is 14 frames, I believe, so it is on the slower end. If you happen to land it as a crush counter, you get a dash up punish, which is not bad. I forgot to talk about the crouching heavy punch as a crush counter. And if your opponent, like for example, let's say that Ryu whiffed ADP, right? So he woke up with ADP, right? I would say that the crouching heavy punch is your preferred combo route because you can actually dash up into a target combo, right? So here you dash up and you're gonna be +5. Let's do it one last time. Dash up +5, so you actually get a medium punch as a target combo. Right, you get to do this, which is good, like you did almost 300 damage and you got the store, so that's not too bad. The crush counter on heavy kick, this is more of like the neutral crush counter. It's not really useful, gonna be useful for a crush counter punish. But the thing about it is that it does have some decent range. It low crushes, so it's not too bad. And the dash up jab or light kick into an uppercut, I'll say that's a pretty consistent crush counter in my opinion. It's an attack that's obviously gonna be used mostly in the neutral, just to stuff things. It have a lot of functionality with her V-trigger as well, but we will get to the V-trigger parts later. The next attack is gonna be the sweep. Obviously her sweep is 8 frames, so it's not the fastest ever, and the range isn't the best ever. Both of these are kinda average. You dash up and you are +3 on quick rise, so that's not too bad. You get to meaty with whatever you want at this point. You can even go for a meaty throw. On a back rise you are a little bit closer to them with a walk, right? So it's not too bad. It's a very it's an okay sweep, I would say. It is really good, I would say, in V-trigger, because in V-trigger every attack, all of her attacks are special cancelable, so you can sweep light fireball and notice after a dash we will +4. So in V-trigger 1 especially, I would say this is actually pretty powerful. Yeah, you can hold my +5. So the sweep is pretty good, but I will mostly save it for V-trigger. I do think in V-trigger is when it really shines. The final heavy Juri have is the back heavy kick, and this is in many ways it's pretty similar to Ryu's back heavy kick, but it doesn't function as an anti-air. It doesn't have any hitbox above her head, so you can't really anti-air anyone with it, right? Doesn't work like that, but it's useful in other situations. You can use it in wake up situations. So for example, it is 7 frame startup. So let's say that we knock someone with an EX Fuha, right? We are +5. If say Ryu is waking up with a jab, right? Ryu is gonna wake up with a jab. So after the EX Fuha we are at +5. The back heavy kick will meaty, you are gonna be +4. So you can use it in this kind of situation as a meaty because it is a pretty active normal. Now one of the things about it that you have to know is that it is Juri's longest range cancelable attack, right? So for example, if we are here, almost all of the cancelable attacks will whiff, but the back heavy kick will connect, and even on the second hit you can still get a Hazanshu or a flip kick after it, or you can even get like an EX Fuha. You can get a light punch pinwheel, you can get many options from this range. So in the neutral, you can maybe fish with it like that. It is an option that you have, right? It is slower on the second hit. So like the first hit is the fast hit, it's a 7 frame startup. The second hit is a little bit slower than that. But again, it is her longest range cancelable normal. It's an active normal as well, so it's not a bad idea to use in the neutral. Because it is active, it's heavy priority, and it's very good to use on wake up because it's fast and she does have many situations that will allow you to actually use this. So let's now talk about the notable air normals and talk about the V skills. The first one is gonna be the jumping light punch. As you know, this is very horizontal, so it's pretty good for like jumping back and anti-airing, right? Like if your opponent is jumping over you, it's a pretty good air-to-air attack in my opinion. The next one is gonna be jumping light kick. This jumping light kick is very special. I do think it's one of her better normals. It is a cross-up attack, so you can hit it and it hits as a cross-up, and as you can see, it can be very ambiguous as to when it will cross up or not. It is always at least +4, so you can easily combo jabs after it. But one of the things that makes it special is that if you hit it a little bit deeper, it can be +6 or +7. and this means that you actually get to combo a medium, right? As you notice, this was a combo. This is very uncommon for light attacks to have this much hit stun to allow you to do this, and given that it can be really ambiguous, I would say for a jumping light, this is actually pretty powerful in my opinion. Also, one of the main uses for this, and this is important, you can use this as an instant overhead. This is very good at ending rounds, right? So like you knock down someone, bam, instant overhead. If they're about to die, this is a very good use of the jumping light kick. So it's pretty important jumping normal for Juri. Next up is the jumping medium kick, pretty traditional cross up. It does have a good frame advantage on hit, so you typically can combo a heavy after it. And it is your like slower, more obvious, but more rewarding cross up jumping attack in my opinion. Also does have some okay horizontal range, so it's not bad from jumping from the front either, but I would say jumping heavy kick is better in this regard. If you are jumping from the front, jumping heavy kick is obviously the obvious route in my opinion. It is a heavy normal. It is pretty fast though, but it obviously have a lot more hit stun, so it allows you to do a little bit more easier. I mean, especially if you're jumping from the front. Jumping medium punch is a pretty good air to air. It's one of her key air to air attacks, I will say. It's really fast. Like this is a really fast air to air. It have a target combo attached to it, which is like jumping medium punch into jumping heavy kick. It will spike the opponent down, as you can see. You can even air juggle here with the heavy kick store if you have it, or the EXDB, right? Maybe you can get a super here if you want. That's actually pretty decent, right? And finally, Juri actually does have an air throw, and this air throw, regardless of where you hit it from, it will spike the opponent down, and it puts them in a good range for you to shake them with a standing heavy kick. And if you're doing something, this will likely CC, right? So this will need it to be a little bit higher, right? So it is good to shake them with a CC after it. From some ranges and some heights, you can actually get it to like actually hit them early on and get the grounded CC like that. So it's standing heavy kick is a good check after the air throw, and the air throw actually does good amount of damage, right? 140 to 100 stun. That's a pretty good amount of damage. Obviously gonna be useful as well for air to airing if they are jumping over you and you're not confident in your crosscuts. Now let's talk about the V skills, because there's a lot to talk about here. Now let's start first with V skill 1. And V skill 1 with Juri is a very interesting V skill. If you do it by itself, she pretty much gonna do this dash and then cross up your opponent and hit them from the other side. If you press the V skill button again anytime during this duration, she will stop in her place, but this have a sizable recovery, I would say. And it is certainly reactable in my opinion. The idea is that you can do something like, maybe, like say this, stop and then throw them. It's interesting, but a little bit on the weaker side, I would say, if you are gonna be using it for this purpose. But hey, maybe you can do something like this with the light kick store, right? Not the worst idea to do, because the light kick store might protect you, but it is an option. Now, the thing about her V skill is that you can charge it, and when you charge it, the properties are completely different. So if I fully charge it, notice the grounded wave under Juri, right? If you look at her feet, you will see that there is a shock wave that happens when it's fully charged, right? And that shock wave pretty much means that you have it charged now. And once the V skill is charged, you can use it at any time. So here we are gonna charge it. If I keep charging all the time, she will just do it. But after the shock wave, you can dash backward or forward and you will have the store. Notice the V skill icon on the bottom left, it is glowing. This is telling you that you have the V skill charged. And once you have the V skill charged, you can do it instantly and bam, Juri will dash away and hit her opponent from the front this time. The charged V skill 1 doesn't hit cross up, it hits twice, once from the front and once from the back. It is pretty good once it's charged, because it is a fast attack, so you can use it to whiff punish your opponent. So let's say for example I have it stored here, Nash even from far range like that is gonna whiff a soap at, and bam, you get an easy whiff punish, right? Bam, you get an easy whiff punish. bam, you get an easy wave punish. It's pretty much a checkmate situation once you have it stored. And one of the better things about it is that it also goes through fireball. So if Nash is throwing sonic booms, bam, checkmate, you can't do much about it. It's a very powerful V skill once you actually have the charge. And there are multiple ways that you can charge this. The first one is simply in the neutral. Maybe you will throw a fireball like that. The opponent is gonna wait for it because they are waiting for you to approach, and then you get your store. That's an option. Let's say you did a combo with the heavy kick store. You can simply cancel the heavy kick store into the charge or into the V skill, and now you have charged it and have it ready to use at any time. And if you happen to have it and you did a combo, you can even combo it after the heavy kick release. Right, so you can combo it after the heavy kick release like that, and that's also pretty good. So it is a very good attack once you have it charged. In my recommendation, if the opponent have a fireball, or if they are characters that you wanna whiff punish, so think of them as fireball characters like Nash, Sagat, Ryu, Ken, etc., or a characters that you wanna whiff punish like Dulcim or Minat, or even Nash, right? Like his Sobat now is very abusable, so it is pretty good to have an option that can allow you to whiff punish. V skill 1 is the way to go, right? So it's the way to go versus zoners and characters who you need to have a good whiff punish against. Now let's talk about V skill 2. Because V skill 2 for Juri is pretty similar in a way. It also requires a charge. Now this V skill this one requires a charge. You can't simply do it like V skill 1, right? You need to have a charge, and once you have the charge, you will have it until you use it. Notice the glowing ring on her feet, right? Or on her right feet. Now once you press it again, Juri is gonna release this slow moving fireball, right? Slow moving disc. This have many uses for Juri, and it's actually a really good V skill if you don't want to whiff punish particular thing, or if your opponent don't have a fireball. It have many uses for the character. The first thing is that you can use it in combos. Think of it as an additional fuha, right? Like you can do something like that, right? And then combo into it, and then get combo extension. So that is a good use of it. You can even store it after the store special. So after you do a store like that, cancel into the V skill. Notice Juri was still plus 10. So that's actually pretty good. You can't really do that this safely with the other one, right? You can't really do that with the V skill 1, but with V skill 2 you can actually get to do this, and that is actually really nice. And obviously after the heavy kick store as well, right, you can also store it like that. So it is actually pretty good and easier to store from my experience than V skill 1, and the time is shorter. Now once you have it, you can think of this as a combo extension tool. You can think of it as a setup tool as well. So for example, let's say that we got we got a store like that, right? And then we left or canceled into the disk. Now it's gonna be immediate. If your opponent is gonna block on wake up, right, let's say that we have it. Juri was plus 17, so you can use it as a meaty tool in situations like this. And simply put, using it in combos is gonna be one of the main uses. It extends or improves her damage output by a good bit. Like this is the typical light confirm. We are doing 119. Not fantastic, but I mean not so bad, but not fantastic. But notice with store on, we are doing 220 or 202. So we got 80 more damage. That's actually pretty sizable. Let's say for example that you have a medium kick and a heavy kick store. Typically you're gonna do something like this, which is 309. Hey, that is some pretty good damage. But if we have it stored, right, we are doing 366, so that's almost 60 more damage, and much more if we are gonna cancel into an uppercut. It allows her to do new juggles. So if I have it like that one, let's say for example here that we wanna get something like extra, right, and then you combo into the heavy kick store here, which will actually open up some new combo routes, right, as long as I don't mess it up. right? And then you get an EX, and that's almost 390 damage with 1 bar. So it actually improves her damage output by a good bit. And like I said, the fireball itself, even if you're not gonna use it as a meaty, you can even use it in block strings, right? So like medium kick, or even like the first set of medium kick and then cancel into it, it is -2, so you don't have advantage, but it is safe, right? And obviously you are building V gauge in the process. Even if the opponent is, like let's say for example the opponent is blocking, even like that, we are building some V gauge, and obviously if they happen to land it in combos, you are building some V gauge in the process as well. So it's a pretty easy V skill to use in my opinion. It's pretty straightforward. Getting the store itself is easy because you can do it in combos easier. You can use it as a meaty like that and get some follow-ups. Again, my rule of the thumb is if they have a fireball, or if they have a tool that is like something that you need to whiff punish, go for V skill 2. Go for V skill 1. If they don't, go for V skill 2. Now obviously this itself is a fireball, right? So like here, if Nash is throwing his fireball, you can actually leave it and it will clash with the projectile, pretty much allowing you to pretty much get a free store, right? So you can use it like that, although I don't love this usage myself, but it is there if you wanna, right? And but obviously it's not nearly as rewarding for that department compared to V skill 1, and you don't get to build V gauge if you use it that way. Again, if they have fireball or something to whiff punish, go with V skill 1. If they don't, go with V skill 2. I think this is the best way to play Juri. So let's talk now about Juri's special moves, and the first one I will talk about is gonna be the pinwheel. This is pretty much done by doing a dragon punch motion. The light version gives you the grounded pinwheel. Medium version is the anti-air one, and heavy version, well, this is more like a heavy punch DP. This is mostly used for combos, I will say, and blowing through some strings, although I will get to that later. Let's first talk about the medium version, because this is primarily your anti-air tool. Like let's say here Chun-Li is jumping. This is gonna be the main attack that you're gonna use to anti-air. You can even do it as late as possible, and it will still anti-air her. So it's a true reversal anti-air, and obviously you can cross-cut with it as well to anti-air them if they jump over you. So that is pretty nice. The heavy one is a bit disappointing. This have strike and projectile invincibility from frames 3 to 8. So you have 5 frames of invincibility. Now the issue is, because these 5 frames are not enough in my opinion, it's not good enough at powering through strings. So let's say for example that Chun-Li is doing a medium kick into a fireball, right? Notice this. The DP is actually hitting Chun-Li. Like it does have some invincibility as a start, so it's hitting her, but because the invincibility is not there for very long, the tail end of the fireball is actually hitting Juri. So it's not as useful to use against fake strings like say a Ken heavy punch DB or a Ryu heavy punch DB. Unfortunately for these purposes, I do think this heavy punch DB is lacking, but it is a pretty good DP to use in combos. Obviously, like if you're doing light slide into heavy punch DPs, that's fine. If you're doing the target combo into store into DPs, that's fine. But for powering through strings or using it in the defensive areas, I do think it is a little bit lacking. Now the grounded light punch pinwheel is mostly, this is going to be used a lot in juggles. I will be leaving a combo section at the end. And it is pretty useful to combo after the light attacks. So for example, we said that this is a very basic hit confirm. Some players love to use it in the neutral like that because it does actually have some decent range. You can use it as a kind of a Rashid spinning mixer, light spinning mixer type of attack. You can certainly use it as a poke. And on block, this have some very interesting properties. If your opponent happen to block this standing, Juri is actually gonna be -3, so it's not bad if it got blocked standing. Like if you're doing it like that and your opponent is blocking standing, that's pretty fine, right? -3 from this range, who can punish you? However, the issue is that if they block it crouching, it is a lot more unsafe. Notice we are talking about -8. so it's a lot unsafer when it gets blocked. I know many Juri players love doing this, crouching media kick into light punch pinwheel, but man, this is risky and you have to understand the risks here. We're talking about -6 to -8, and if your opponent knows a matchup, this is gonna get punished, so you have to be careful. This is only good in my opinion, again, like I said, as a poke, if they are standing, so that is maybe in the neutral like that, it's not too bad to use, but spamming stuff like that is gonna get you killed, in my opinion. The next one is gonna be the EXDP, and again, this is fully invincible from frame 1. It will just power through anything, so it's a wake up reversal for the most part, right? Like let's say Chun-Li is doing her string, right? This is the wake up reversal from some distance. It can whiff like that, so be careful, but it is a true invincible reversal, right? It's gonna be your wake up reversal tool. But obviously you get crush countered if it gets blocked or if it whiffs. And obviously your opponent can back rise and you don't get Oki out of it, so this is something that you have to know. Like let's say the back rise and like that, right? Juri is only +9 and there is a big separation here, so you can't really dash and follow up with your pressure. This is also something that you have to know. Now next up, let's talk about the split kick, and split kick for Juri is a pretty interesting tool. Like we showed in the overview, this can go over fireballs, and aside from using it against fireballs, this is mostly gonna be strictly a combo tool. It's a pretty good tool to combo into and then cancel into super. You can use it for V-trigger activation, so let's here have our meter back, right? You can use it and then activate V-trigger, and then you have a good juggle opportunity. Even if your opponent happen to block this, you're still gonna have plus frames, right? She's +9, so you get to follow up and pressure however you want. And the issue with this is that it is pretty good on, like let's say for combos like that, right? You dash up and you're +7 on their face. That's actually pretty nice, right? Because if she tried to wake up with something, let's here have the Chun-Li wake up with a jab, for example. Again, you get to easily meaty in this instant, right? This is an easy meaty. Now the issue is that if they happen to back rise, you're gonna be +13, but from a little bit of a distance. Now obviously on the quick rise, you can easily throw them on wake up, right? So let's say that you're gonna go for the quick rise, right? You can simply here go for the throw. Now the issue is that on back rise, you are way too far to throw them from, right? Like you have to walk, let's here have it stop from doing that reframe. Notice the distance you are from them, there's a sizable distance here, so it's like you have to walk all of that and throw them, so if they move backward or if they wake up with a jab or whatever, they are gonna stop you from trying to go for the throw, but you can actually get the meaty still, right? But as you can see, it can get kind of finicky at this point because of the distance involved. So on back rise, unfortunately it's not a fantastic tool. It can work, but you don't get real throw Oki, which is unfortunate. But otherwise, it is a decent combo ender, and it does enlist a decent amount of corner carry, so it's not too bad. The EX version, this is Fireball Invincible from frame 1. That's actually pretty good, because this means that you can use it against any string that includes Fireball. So for example here, Miss Chun-Li is gonna do it, I'm gonna buzz through it, and then I'm gonna get the juggle, right? Even if I do it as late as possible, it still will go through everything from frame 1. That's actually pretty powerful. And one of the best things about it is that it's also only -2 on block. So it's completely safe from block, right? That is very, very good. It reaches almost full screen. So that, not full screen, about like 80% of the screen. And you can V-trigger activate here and you'll be at a +7, so that's not a bad idea to do. Many Juri players love just throwing this move out there just to activate V-trigger. It can get neutral jumped and you will get punished, so don't be too predictable with this. But it is there if you need to use it. I mostly like to honestly do a block string into it just to get the plus activation. Doing it raw in the neutral like that can be harmful. If you happen to land the EX, like we said, you get an uppercut. You can activate V-trigger here and get like some sort of an aerial combo if you want. Again, will be leaving a combo section at the end. Now this finally leaves us with the main special moves for Juri, and these are the stores. The initial store for each of them is pretty similar. Juri does this kick, and this kick is actually, this will absorb one fireball. So let's say for example here that Chun-Li is gonna throw a fireball at us, right? This will actually clash with a single fireball. So it will absorb a fireball like that. So you can use it actually in fireballs to simply delete a fireball and manage to store at the same time. So that as he use is not actually bad. And this attack or the store special, the store activation itself, this actually is -2 on block, right? So it's not bad to even do on block strings. It's completely safe. And in hit, if this happened to hit, it puts them on a little juggle state. You can combo an EX Fuha after it if you want. You can then cancel into V-Skill 2 and get a charge if you want. So there are multiple things that you do here. If you have V-Skill 2 or EX Fuha, I would actually highly recommend doing either of them. You can get 2 lights into the store, 2 light punches into the store. So these are some pretty good options here. You can even do the target combo into the store and then follow up with an uppercut. That is a pretty good combo routes. So there are many combo routes and many ways to do this on block, or even in the neutral. You can just create some distance. The whiff recovery isn't so bad that it's very detrimental to do it. It doesn't require as much charge as say the V-Skill, so it's not a bad idea to just create some space for yourself and get your stores ready. Now what happens once you have gotten the store ready? Notice there are 3 icons on the bottom left. This is the light version, this is the medium version, and this is the heavy version. And each one of them actually have their purpose. The light is this slow moving fireball. This is special because it doesn't clash with other projectile and it allows Juri to kinda use it as a shield to cover her approach. Notice that it's not colliding with Chun-Li's fireball at all, right? So doing it against other fireball characters like that is actually a pretty good idea, especially when you consider that you also have the EX flip kick to go through their fireballs as well, right? So that's a pretty good use of the light kick store. The light kick store is also pretty useful on block because it is -2. Even point blank, it is -2. So regardless of what you do, like let's say for example the crouching heavy punch, that is -5 on block. You special cancel it into the store and now you are -2. Let's say that you did the heavy kick release, this is -6. You can cancel it into the light kick store and this will be -2. So you can make many things safe. Most of her stores and most of her normals can be made safe if you cancel into the light kick store. And also one of the main uses aside from control and zoning is gonna be in block strings, because maximum range, if you do it from a little bit far of a distance, like maximum range crouching medium kick, into the store, into dash, this could be plus on block, right? So let's do it one more time. You can get to be plus and then harass your opponent and mix them up with throws and mix-ups, etc, etc, etc. So it is a pretty useful normal for Juri, or pretty useful move for Juri overall. It's gonna be your main tool. I will say, if you're going to go for a store, always go for the light kick, the fireball first. This is the most important one to have. Next up is gonna be the heavy one, because like from the list of priorities, I would say light is the most important, then medium, then heavy, and then medium. Heavy store is pretty much a combo tool. It will pretty much allow you to combo out of everything. So let's say that you're doing light attacks like that, you can combo into the heavy store. It's a pretty standard combo tool in all honesty. Even like from a crouching medium kick, you get a heavy store, and in the corner you can actually juggle a medium punch uppercut here. So notice that the damage output can actually be really dramatic. So this is a combo conversion and juggle tools for the most part, because like we said earlier again, especially like after many attacks like let's say the V-Skill 2 that puts them in the air, the heavy kick store will juggle, so it's really good at that. Now the final one is gonna be the medium, and this attack is pretty good for combos. This is mostly gonna be used for maximum damage combo, but this is the higher tier of combo potential. because when you cancel into it and it happen to hit, Juri is gonna be +6, which means that you get a crouching medium or a standing medium kick. So for example, this will allow Juri to do combos like these, right? Which leads to some pretty good damage, 317 meterless. Hey, that's actually pretty nice. Now, there is a cheeky use for this that you can do, and that is because after frame 10, this is airborne. So you can use it to actually throw bait your opponent. Think of it as Poison doing her Love Me Tender or the flip kick to throw bait. This is pretty much the same deal. So let's here have Chun-Li try to wake up with a throw. Hopefully she's not gonna wake up with lightning legs. Alright. So let's say for example that you go for a knockdown like say like that one. You use this to throw bait, and if you happen to land, very quick rise. Right? It can be used to shimmy people like that. So I'll say that's actually a pretty good use for it. And obviously you can activate V-Trigger, you're gonna be +13 at this point. So you actually get some really good follow-ups here. Or obviously you can go for a combo extension like that if you want. Right, and get some really damaging combos. So aside from using it in combos, I will say it's really good to use just for this throw bait scenario, right? Obviously it is airborne after frame 10, so you need to have sufficient frame advantage, right? So for example, if you are just after sweeps and dash, Juri is only +3, but so at a +3 advantage you will not really get it to do that. But let's say after a split kick, you're gonna be +5. This is where this might actually work to your advantage, because the throw will happen on frame 10, which means that Juri would have been airborne already. And finally, the final one is gonna be the EX Fuha. EX Fuha is 7 frame startup, so that's actually pretty nice. You can use it in the neutral as a whiff punish. It is pretty fast for that, it combos from pretty much everything. It's a good attack to use in juggles. Juggles fairly easily as well. Right, like maybe after something like this, you can get a very easy Fuha juggle, even in the V-Trigger, like in V-Trigger 1 situations. This is a pretty good juggle move. So it's a pretty good juggle move, and at being 7 frames with the range it have, means that it is actually a pretty good attack in general. And even if you, like for example, you want to do crouching medium kick into something, you're afraid that crouching medium kick into pinwheel is gonna be unsafe, you can simply go for the EX Fuha. It's gonna give you a good knockdown as well. You are +5 on this knockdown, so you actually get a back heavy kick after a dash, right? So it does leave you in a pretty good spot all in all. So overall, Juri specials are pretty important. Obviously the most complicated ones are the store, but like I said, the light kick store, this is the heartbeat of her neutral. This is pretty much the single most important tool that Juri have, so always make it a priority to store the light kick store as much as possible. So let's now talk about Juri's V-Trigger 1. I'm not gonna talk that much about V-Trigger 2 because it's a pretty weak V-Trigger, not really worth discussing in my opinion. You're gonna be using V-Trigger 1 anyways. And V-Trigger 1 for Juri is a pretty good V-Trigger for what it does. It's a 2-bar V-Trigger, it's an install V-Trigger. Once you activate it, it's gonna run down on a timer, and it gives Juri many buffs. One of the first one is gonna be an improved dash. Typically from the round start distance, if I dash up, I can't throw Mika, but if I'm in V-Trigger, damn, you get the throw. So that's pretty powerful. Typically, for example, you need 1, 2, 3 dashes to get to her, while in V-Trigger, 1, 2, and you get the throw. So the dash, the frame data on the dash itself is the same. The speed is the same, but the range is enhanced. And one of the good things about it is that it doesn't actually deplete the meter, right? You can dash up as much as you want as long as you have the timer and the meter doesn't drain. So that's actually pretty powerful. For a character with her walk speed, simply having this dash is actually pretty powerful. Especially when you consider that there is a slow moving projectile that you can couple with the dash to go in and surprise your opponent like that. Now let's talk about the other benefits, and one of the other main benefits is the fact that Juri get access to her store specials without having to store them. If I do the quarter circle forward or fireball and light kick, I'm getting the fireball. Medium, I'm getting the medium release, and heavy, I'm getting the heavy release. And you get that without having to store them whatsoever, right? Typically, I'm gonna reforce it into the store, but when you have V-trigger, it just come out. This is actually pretty important because the timer itself, it takes a long time to wind down. So if you're not using it that much, it will stay on for actually a decent amount of time. So this means that you can play a super powered version of Juri where you can just use whatever combo routes you want to use without actually having to suffer the consequences of the having to charge first, right? Like typically I will have to charge here and all of that, but with V-trigger you can just do whatever you want, right? So that's actually a pretty big buff in my opinion. The routes like the light attacks become a lot easier to combo into. Crouching medium kick becomes a lot easier to use as well because you can simply do this now without having to store. All of that is pretty powerful. Another major benefit that Juri gets is that all of her normals become special cancelable. So let's actually turn on the inputs here. Typically if I do sweep, notice I'm trying to do sweep into store and it's not coming out. If I have the V-trigger on, I can do the sweep and cancel it into the fireball, right? That's actually really powerful because any other normals, like for example the standing heavy kick, this is typically -4, right? So if done up close like that, you can get punished. Some characters have really long -4 punishes. If you are in V-trigger, you can simply cancel it into the heavy kick release, and this will catch your opponent trying to punish you. And again, if you have the light kick store after that, even if they happen to block, you can make it completely safe. So that is really good. Now, one of the other benefits that this V-trigger does is that it also gives Juri a magic series. If you're not familiar with the magic series, it's pretty much like the Marvel games where you can combo your buttons in the ascending order. So for example, light kick, light punch, this is gonna be a combo. Medium punch, medium kick, gonna be a combo. Heavy punch, heavy kick, whatever. All of that is gonna combo. And you can even do like light kick into medium kick. Light punch into medium punch, light punch, medium punch, heavy kick, light punch, medium kick, heavy punch, etc. You get the idea, and this actually does allow Juri to do a lot of damage. This inherently buffs Juri's neutral by a lot, because now the standing medium kick, we said that this is a good poke, but now you can cancel it into the heavy kick, and just doing that allow you to cancel into the heavy kick store, which means that now you actually get access to a knockdown from a medium kick poke. This is actually pretty powerful and not something that you can really overlook. And these benefits also extend to her air normals. They also follow the same rules. Again, you can also magic series with these guys, right? The same rules will still apply, and you still get the same idea. And honestly, one of the good things about the jumping attacks is that all of her jumping attacks in this V-trigger will actually, put the opponent in a juggle state. Notice that typically the jab is causing an air reset, while in V-trigger it will cause Mika to fall down, putting her in a juggle state. So that is pretty important. Now there are so many ways to use this V-trigger. You can simply use it to get some better hit confirms, right? I will be leaving again a combo section at the end if you want to see some of the combos that you can do. You can use this even for pressure. Like for example, we talked earlier that after you do the sweep to the light kick fireball and a dash, Juri is gonna be massively plus, right? +3, so you get to pressure here. That is pretty nice. We said that you can do stuff like medium kick into heavy kick, and even if you happen to block this, again, you can simply release the heavy kick release, and that will be safe. You have access now to the stores without having to access them, so you can simply keep throwing your opponent like that, lobing them. Once they get shimmied, now you are getting your most damage combos. Right, like look at how much damage we got from a shimmy without having to have any stores left. So it is really a super powered version of Juri in my opinion. It's fantastic V-trigger. I don't think there is a lot of ways that you can use it wrong, because pretty much whatever you are doing you're gonna get some value out of. and honestly you can't really go wrong with it. I do think it's a really good V-trigger. It does have a weakness, and that weakness is that if you do the magic series on block, it will deplete the bar really fast, right? Like if the stores or the specials in general, they deplete the bar really quickly. So try to hit confirm it as much as possible. I know many players get I want to say they get overzealous and will just waste their V-trigger in an instant like that, while I do think if you try to hit confirm, you can get so much more out of it for the same cost. It's a really good V-trigger in my opinion. Before I leave you with combos and Oki, I wanted to briefly talk about Juri's critical art and her throw game. The critical art is a double fireball backwards and kick special, and it's a big fireball. It's just this big fireball. Unfortunately, she doesn't get a cinematic super, which is unfortunate. It moves around like 80% of the screen maybe, so it's not even a full screen fireball. And I do think this is a disappointing super, both in terms of the graphic flair and in terms of functionality. Unfortunately, it is 9 frames startup, so it is on the slower end for a fireball. In my opinion, most of the fireball supers or most of the projectile supers, most of them are typically faster than this. It is fully invincible on the first 10 frames, so it does obviously have some invincibility, but I don't think it's that enough of a window in my opinion. Again, you don't even get like some really good Oki after it on hit. Let's say for example with dash up, she's gonna be negative, even if you land it like after a light punch pinwheel like that. Dash up, you're gonna be completely negative, so it doesn't set up a good situation. It doesn't set up a good situation on hit. If you happen to do it on block, you are massively unsafe. Juri is minus 24 or minus 25 point blank. That's pretty unfortunate in my opinion, right? Like, because many of the other fireball supers like Guiles or Reuse, they are a lot safer, at least in V-trigger. This doesn't even get any V-trigger benefits. Like, it's pretty much the same when Juri activates her V-trigger as well. And aside from using it in combos, like the good side is that you can use it in combos and it's pretty easy to do. It will combo after the split kick, it will combo after the light punch pinwheel, it will combo after the heavy store. So it does have, you do have a lot of ways that you can combo into it, but unfortunately the reward is actually, post hit aside from the damage isn't fantastic. You don't get a setup or anything, and just using it in the neutral, I do think it's one of the worst supers in the game as far as being able to use in the neutral, right? The best thing is that you can use it while you have a fireball on the screen like that, but people don't typically jump over Juri's fireball, so I don't know. I think it's quite disappointing, to be honest. Now let's talk about something that is not disappointing, and that is Juri's throw game. Her forward throw is excellent in my opinion. Even mid-screen, Juri is at a plus 11 and she's relatively close to her opponent, so you can easily walk forward and throw them again, right? It's pretty easy to do this with Juri. You don't even have to be in the corner, and that is one of the highlights of the character. Her throw game is actually pretty powerful. Maybe they will try to walk backwards, but you have a crouching medium kick to keep them in check, so that is pretty nice. If you do the back throw, it puts them at a perfect distance to standing heavy kick. So most of the times you're gonna be doing something like this. If you happen to block it, the pushback here is pretty nice, so you will mostly be safe from most 4-frame punish. And this can get really good, especially if you're in V-trigger, because you can combo after this heavy kick in V-trigger, which is pretty nice. Now you're getting a really good damage from a check after a throw, and being able to have a good Oki after forward throw and a good check after back throw, that is pretty powerful. Most characters get her type of Oki in the corner, but Juri gets this mid screen, which is a highlight in my opinion. And that is pretty much it for Juri. She's certainly a fun character. She is one of the more challenging characters, I will say. Definitely she does have a learning curve, and it will take you a good bit before you can actually do or see some results with her, but I honestly think she is a good character. She's unorthodox, but I do think she does have some really good potential, and she is a lot of fun and obviously a super top tier waifu, and all of that obviously matters. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment. It helps the channel so much. I will be leaving a link to the Patreon page and the Discord server page in the description below. Thank you very much for watching and stay safe.